Hey Geography peeps, so as you know, this is filler week once again, which means I'm working on the next country episodes, which means we gotta talk about some hypotheticals. So after our last topical video about urbanizing the Arctic, it really kind of got me thinking, what are some other ways we could change the way we live on this planet? In D.J Mc.Hale's Pendragon book series, there's a story about a boy who has to save the universe by traveling to 10 different territories. These territories are different worlds found in the supposed universe, I guess, in different sections of the space-time continuum. 3 of these territories are actually Earth, but they take place in 3 different time eras. One is in the 1930s, the other one is in the present day, and the other one is in the 51st century. What I remember finding most fascinating about the book was Mc.Hale's description of Earth in the 51st century, or Third Earth as it's referred to in the book. In this story, over time, Earth suffered from an overpopulation problem, and thus they decided to colonize other planets and moons throughout the solar system. For the people that decided to remain on Earth, about half of them reside above ground in small cubic houses, and the other half reside underground in massive subterranean complexes complete with living units, shops, parks, schools, and so on. And it kind of got me thinking, would it be wise to live underground? And if so, what are the potential benefits and precautions that would follow from pursuing such a massive feat of civil engineering? First of all, subterranean living is nothing new to us. Already people have been creating living spaces underground for millennia. You can find places like the ancient Berber abodes of Matama in Tunisia, where Star Wars was filmed, all the way to the recent Coober Pedy town in Australia, which has almost 2,000 full-time residents. Otherwise, the Path network in Toronto, Canada has the world's largest underground shopping complex. Nonetheless, there really hasn't been any place on Earth that has implemented a subterranean structure format for a mass urban populace of people of millions. Could it be possible? And if so, what would it take to build such a massive behemoth of ingenuity? Well, first of all, what are the advantages of subterranean living? Well, for one, you have resistance to severe weather, you have a quiet living space, natural insulating properties from the ground that create a nearly constant interior temperature, energy efficiency, and security. I mean, if your city is getting bombed, it's safest to be underground, and radar and satellites can't really track you that easily. Now, what are some of the cons? Well, it depends, but in some cases, unless you have a well-established pump and ventilation system, underground units could be easily subject to flooding or even suffocation if passageways get blocked off, or tunnel collapse and trapping. Then, of course, you might want to avoid building near a fault line to avoid earthquakes and volcanic activity, which would just destroy everything in a matter of seconds. That means if we were to construct entire underground cities, we would have to work out a system in which every living and commercial unit had access to clean air and water, a problem many surface dwellers might not struggle with. We would also have to design an insane labyrinth of passageways and escape routes just in case if one tunnel gets blocked. Plus, you know, digging can be kind of expensive. I mean, subways aren't cheap to begin with. Now take that and multiply it by like 500,000 for an entire city of people. On the plus side, electric wiring would probably be a lot easier to accommodate. You could just thread the electric wiring through dugout tunnels rather than investing in all of the tons of material required to make electric poles and towers. However, a small problem we might have to overcome would be Wi-Fi and cell reception. In order to get these accommodations, you need to have big, open, unobstructed spaces and satellites. The further down you go, the more difficult it gets. Many large cities like New York and Seoul, South Korea have figured out a way to relay the signal via a system of cords called the leaky coke service, in which cables run through the tunnels and literally leak the signal from above ground antenna through a series of holes in them. If there's enough room, underground antenna can be installed too, however it's a little difficult with limited space for broadcast. Nonetheless, other than those factors, there's really not much that would get in the way of daily life, other than maybe missing a sunny day, but I mean, if you live in a region that's pretty much overcast the majority of the year, then it wouldn't be much of a loss to begin with. It might even be wise for farmers in big open croplands to live underground so as to avoid tornado season and reduce property damage. Already, most homes in the Midwest of the USA have basements or tornado cellars that they go into in the event of a twister. If you live underground, a tornado could literally pass over your ceiling and you could calmly sit back and sip your coffee while reading the newspaper. Another thing to think about is, what would we do with all the excess dirt and gravel that we dug up after completing these massive cities? Well, there's a lot of things you can do with it. After construction, most sites like to see if the gravel and dirt is clean and uncontaminated. If it is, they typically sell it to other contractors who like to use it in other projects. Things like filling up landfills or abandoned quarries, road work, artificial terrain leveling, and land reclamation from the sea. The last one, I believe, could be of very important use. What if countries across the world could donate their excess earth and gravel to Pacific Island nations that are currently struggling to maintain their coastlines due to rising sea levels? Wouldn't that be cool? Currently, Tuvalu and Kiribati are trying really hard to plant mangroves to reclaim whatever disappearing beaches they can. However, what if we just gave them a lot of soil and gravel to expand the coast rather than cling on to whatever's left? Could we do it? Well, it might be a little expensive, considering the immense distance it takes to get there, let alone the weight of the gravel and earth on a cargo ship, which would require more fuel costs. But who knows? It might actually be easier to siphon the land from underwater, kind of like what Dubai did with those artificial islands off the coast. Actually, that might not be a good idea because it might harm the underwater reef system and wildlife. In the end, subterranean habitation is actually kind of environmentally friendly, and it sounds nice, but there are just so many factors that go into it. And would it even be worth it? Who knows? What do you think? How would you engineer an urban subterranean civil structure? That was just my thought for today. Hope you liked this topical video. Subscribe if you'd like, and stay cool. Stay tuned.